Did you know that Chris Metzen once said that he would like ogres to be playable one day? And I quote, "We considered them for Cataclysm instead of goblins. Figuring out females and the two-headed mages would be fun challenges. Maybe someday." Well, that day could be now.
He did it. No, he did it.
Hey guys, out of all the allied races we've come across so far, ogres are by far the most unanimously agreed upon as desirable by Horde players. That being said, let's explore together some of the reasons why they would fit in so perfectly. Be sure to let me know in the comments whether you think ogres would be a great addition to the Horde as an allied race.
That way. No, that way. I'm with stupid. Me too.
1. Their culture is textbook definition of the Horde. To start off, Ogre society is built upon a clan structure in which physical strength is greatly respected, of which besting a rival is usually the only way to advance within the ranks. This is almost a direct mirror of Mak'gora, the famous Orc custom of traditional dueling. Ogre societies are also divided into multiple clans, very much like the Mak'gha Orc clans that we encounter in Draenor. Each clan is ruled by a chieftain or king, who by and large rules with an iron fist, similar to how the Horde is ruled by a war chief that holds overwhelming power over the other racial leaders. Disagreements between ogres also usually end in violence, yet another typical Horde characteristic that we have witnessed amongst its leadership over the years. Additionally, ogres favour living in crude stone huts and caverns over civilized buildings. It is very common to witness such living conditions at any ogre encampment we come across in-game. Even their capital city at High Mall is based off simple architecture of stone and rubble. Not saying that the Horde currently lives in crappy conditions, but their architectural style, as can be seen in their capital of Orgrimmar, of caverns and abodes, would not feel alienating towards ogre society. In fact, the ogres would probably feel right at home. So overall, ogres would fit into the culture of the Horde just fine. They may have to make some minor tweaks to their lifestyle in the new Horde, but nothing to the extent whereby they made feel as though they were outcasts. If anything, they would fit into the Horde way better than the Forsaken and the Blood Elves.
So angry. So hungry.
2. Ogres are biologically tied to orcs. If you didn't know it yet, orcs actually evolved from ogres. That's right, ogres are their ancestors, and is why they share so many physical similarities, from their large frames to their long lower canines. So not only are they culturally very much alike, but they also share a biological history. Speaking of biology, the physical dimensions of ogres also fit very well from a gameplay perspective. Ogre heights range anywhere from around 6 to 12 feet, and so they can be measured to be around a similar size as that of the Tauren, who top off at around 8 to 10 feet. While ogres are typically depicted as massive NPCs, this is probably just a gameplay scaling issue in order to enable players to see NPCs or enemies better. Lastly, female ogres do exist, even if they may not have been portrayed in-game yet. In the Warcraft novel Traveller, female ogres were stated to be just as common as male ogres in Diamond. Various female ogres have also been mentioned in lore, such as the late wife of Tharg, a quest giver in Duskwallow Marsh, an unnamed young female that served King Godok in Diamond, and Karga, a female ogre of the Goduni ogre tribe. There also exists a mysterious island named Ogre Zonia, a tiny island filled with giant female ogres that are rumoured to perform horrible rituals to men who happen upon their island. So female ogres are definitely a thing. I mean, of course they are. Ogres gotta reproduce somehow. So from a character creation perspective, gender won't be an issue.
It's clobbering time. Kill!
3. Ogres are long-time allies of the Horde. Ogres have had a long history in working with the Horde, most notably with the Orcs. In both the First and Second Wars, ogres accompanied the old Horde through the Dark Portal into Azeroth. They were used pretty effectively by Gul'dan as enforcers to quell the needless infighting between the Orcish clans. They also took part in many major battles, and even Ogrim Doomhammer himself had a bunch of ogre warriors as his loyal bodyguards. That is why you are able to recruit them as playable units for the Orcs in Warcraft 1 and 2. Following the Third War, the Stonemaul clan also worked alongside Rexxar and Thrall against Admiral Dalian Proudmoore's forces. Since then, they have been allied with the Horde, helping them out in various minor skirmishes. Lastly, there are the Dunemaul Ogres, an ogre clan that occupies a large swath of Tanaris. Following the Cataclysm, the Dunemaul clan was brought into the fold, and have been shipped all over the world to work for the Horde. Although, for gameplay purposes, the clan still remains in the area and are still hostile towards the Horde. These are just the Ogre clans from our main universe though. If we were to also consider the ones from the alternate universe, then there will be many more Ogre clans to include that have a relationship with the Horde. Additionally, Ogres are also often employed as mercenaries, especially by the Goblin cartels. Ogres and Goblins seem to enjoy a symbiotic relationship, and sometimes we can even spot Goblins piggybacking upon Ogres, utilizing them as combat mounts of a sort. So it's pretty undeniable of how Ogres would be able to make a very smooth transition into the current Horde. In terms of allied races, they could even be introduced as the Goblin allied race, with the Goblins either introducing them as a small sect of mercenaries or to serve as their main advocates.
I go. Okay.
Number 4. The Mysterious Ogre Continent. In terms of a potential storyline for an Ogre allied race, the maps of Draenor actually feature an unnamed landmass southwest of Draenor's main continent. This area was described, at the 2013 BlizzCon no less, as the mysterious Ogre continent from which the Gorean Empire originated from. While the existence of this continent seems to have been retconned, many other features of WOD, being the mess of an expansion that it was, were also retconned, and so has all the possibility of being able to be brought back. As you can see on the in-game maps, the landmass is still there, never having been removed. An Ogre NPC, Tormok, who was a High Centurion of the Ogre Empire, still mentions having campaigned on 2 different continents. Additionally, the official Warlords of Draenor site used to describe how seafaring Ogres came from the south and claimed the southern coast of the Gran. It's very clear that Blizzard had intended many things for WOD, such as this new Ogre continent. It's a real pity that it wasn't implemented, but now with the introduction of allied races, they have all the space they need to bring these aspects back. And what better way to begin your Ogre allied race campaign than with an introduction storyline on a mysterious Ogre continent.
Me smash you! Ah!
Number 5. Unique customization options. It may not seem like it, but Ogres aren't just your stereotypical big fat hunks of meat. They actually have a wide variety of customization options. The most prominent customization option would be whether they have 1 head or 2 heads. Due to Ogre practice of sorcery and arcane magic, Ogre children would rarely be born with 2 heads. 2-headed Ogres have a strong natural affinity with arcane magic, and almost always become exceptional spell casters. Many famous 2-headed mages exist, such as Trogal, leader of the Twilight's Hammer, Imperator Margok, Sorcerer King of the Gorean Empire, and Dentar, one of Nazu's key lieutenants that we can see in Warcraft 2. Secondly, a handful of Ogres in every generation are born with only 1 eye instead of 2. These Ogres are often known as Ogre Lords, retaining some of the physical traits of their Grond ancestors, such as the bony calcified protrusions on their head and back, as well as a portion of their immense size and strength. Almost all Ogre clans recognize such individuals as exceptional and destined for great things. Thirdly, Ogres come in a variety of colors. There is the typical pale or beige color. Some also have a bluish tinge to them, and others can be grey or black. Lastly, Ogres of differing clans can also be differentiated by their war paints. You will almost always see an Ogre with some sort of war paint, and they do so in order to look more fearsome to their enemies. So Ogres as an allied race would have a nice spectrum of options, from a different number of heads, eyes, to body paints and tattoos. Additionally, Ogres prefer to show off their physique, hence why you see many Ogres being very lightly armoured or almost always topless, favouring garments that don't cover too much skin. This would make for some really iconic and unique heritage armour designs. Blizzard could even provide 2 options based on their heads, with one being the iconic hood with toga that Ogre mages like to adorn, and with great harnesses and shoulder pauldrons that Ogre warriors prefer. Just based on this point, I'm not too sure how Blizzard might want to work out fitting helmets onto 2 Ogres. But a simple and logical solution would be to just make 2 of the same helmets on both heads, or perhaps even provide an additional head transmog slot for 2-headed Ogres, which would be just plain awesome.
We're ready, Master. I'm not ready. Huh? What? Huh? Yes?
6. Ogres are great shipbuilders. Before the First War, as the Orcs marched across Draenor in their conquest of it, they had to rely on Ogre shipwrights to build suitable vessels capable of crossing the oceans, as the Orcs were not seafarers. During the Second War, the Orcs again relied on the Ogres' shipbuilding skills and maritime knowledge in their battles with the human kingdoms. The iconic juggernauts of Warcraft 2 and even 3, heavily armoured floating fortresses that came to be feared across the seas of Azeroth, were constructed by none other than the Ogres. Their shipbuilding prowess also very much ties in with the previously mentioned retcon point of the mysterious Ogre continent, in how they had to sail across the seas in order to reach mainland Draenor. What better time to introduce a race skilled at seafaring than during the BfA expansion, an expansion primarily concerned with sea battles and with Queen Ashara and the Naga returning as one of the main antagonists. And so there you have it, from cultural similarities, to physical resemblances, to historical ties, Ogres very much fit into not only the Horde as an allied race, but the BfA expansion as a whole. As an added bonus point, let's see what classes Ogres could potentially be.
Yes, Master. I don't want to. Alright. Now I'm hungry.
7. Ogre Classes. Clearly, they can be warriors or mages. Those two are the standard Ogre classes, with a preferred affinity towards the Arcane Mage spec. Ogres can also definitely be warlocks, with many infamous warlocks hailing from the Ogre race, and it's also where the iconic Eye of Kilrock originated from in Warcraft 2. Ogres can also most certainly be shamans, with many demonstrating the ability to master the elements. They could also be hunters, as at times we've seen Ogres travelling along with perhaps a giant boar or packs of hyenas at their side. Not too sure about them using ranged weapons though, so Survival Hunter would probably be the preferred spec. I don't believe there's anything stopping Ogres from being monks, but that would be a real sight to see. I'm also not too sure about Death Knights. So far we haven't seen any in-game, but Ogres are definitely in a position to be raised in the Lich King service, as they were all over the world during all the major wars. Paladins are most probably out, as the Ogres don't seem to have any system of faith or belief in the light. As for priests, some Ogre Magi, like Cho'Gall, have tapped heavily into the void in the past, but I'm not too sure if that's enough for them to be accepted into the priest class as a whole. Druidism too is probably out of their reach, as that will require them possessing a love and respect for the forces of nature. So to wrap it up, I can't honestly think of any other race more fitting to be in the Horde. I mean, they were even considered to be added in since vanilla, and then again in the Cataclysm expansion. Again, feel free to let me know in the comments if you think Ogres would be a great allied race for the Horde, and perhaps even what customizations and classes you might want to choose. If you'd like to watch more allied race content, consider clicking that subscribe button, as I'll always be doing more of these as they come. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Azeroth.